The Summer Maiden by Dilly Court. Read by Annie Aldington. Chapter 1. Wapping, London, Summer 1873. Caroline Manning stood a little apart from the rest of the mourners, who were preparing to walk away from her father's grave. The interment was over. The last words of farewell to a good man had been said, and his widow, Esther, had dropped a crimson rose onto the coffin. Her face was hidden behind the dark veil of widow's weeds, but Caroline sensed that her mother was crying. Tears stung her own eyes, but she was determined to be brave. She had loved her father dearly, but she knew that Papa would have wanted her to support the rest of the family and help her mother through the trauma of such a great loss. Max and James, her younger brothers, had been away at boarding school when their father had fallen ill and died, and Esther had travelled to Rugby with Sadie, her friend and companion, to bring them home. The boys had been brave throughout the interment, but Jimmy had broken down and sobbed when the first handful of earth fell on the coffin, and he was clinging to their mother, who was now weeping openly. Caroline could see that 14-year-old Max was struggling, and she placed her arm around his shoulders. "Papa didn't suffer, Max. He just slipped away, so Mama told me." Max dashed his hand across his eyes. "Yes, that's what she said. But I'm going to miss him." "We all are." Caroline gave him a comforting hug. "We'd best follow the others, Max. We have to get the train back to London." "We're going now, Carrie dear." Esther braced her slender shoulders and led Jimmy away from the yawning chasm of Jack Manning's last resting place. "I won't be long." "The train will be here soon," Sadie said firmly. "Come on, Carrie, love. Best foot forward." "I said I won't be long." Caroline could not help a note of impatience creeping into her voice. She had so far kept herself composed, but she was in danger of losing the cast-iron self-control that had helped her to get through the carriage ride from their home in Finsbury Circus to Waterloo Bridge Station, and the journey on the Necropolis Railway to Brookwood Cemetery. Mama had her standards, and would not travel any other way than first class, even though Aunt Sadie was quite happy to use the omnibus, and had even braved the Metropolitan Railway, which ran underground. "Come with me, Max. We'll let Carrie have a minute to herself." Sadie beckoned to Max, and he allowed her to take him by the hand, something that he would never have done normally. At any other time, Caroline might have smiled to see her usually strong-willed brother acting so meekly, but this wasn't a normal day. Sadie was no relation, but she had been with the family ever since Caroline could remember, and had become a surrogate aunt with an enduring place in their affections. The distant sound of a train's whistle jolted Caroline back to the present, and she raised the tea rose to her lips, inhaling the delicate perfume before allowing it to flutter through the air, landing on the coffin with a gentle thud. Papa had loved tea roses, and she had picked several from the garden with the morning dew still upon them, choosing the biggest and the best to bring with her on Papa's last sad journey. She wiped her eyes and took a deep breath, raising her face to the cloudless azure sky. She wondered if Papa and her two baby brothers, who had been taken by whooping cough, were looking down on her, but that was childish, and at 17 years old she knew better. She picked up her black silk skirts and trudged across the scorched grass as she followed her family to the station platform. It was a fiery June day, and the ground beneath her feet was baked hard. The return train journey promised to be hot and sticky and less than cheerful, and she had a sudden urge to cry out that it wasn't fair. Papa had been in his mid-40s when he contracted pneumonia during a business trip to the continent. Her last sight of him had been when she'd waved him off, thinking that he would return soon with news of a profitable deal. Caroline bit the inside of her lip to prevent herself from bursting into tears as she caught up with her mother, Sadie, and the boys. "Are you all right?"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?